Okay, as much as I was going to try to avoid this, here I am recording on a Friday night again. I should still have learned my lesson, but oh well. My sister and the boys are here in town, and so sleep has been very little since they arrived, but that's okay. And since my hair is looking like crap and I couldn't get anything to stay down, I decided to use a headband. And since I couldn't find a headband, I decided to use my own little set of horns to keep my hair down. And now let's just go ahead and jump right into the questions and hopefully not take up too much time because my luck, Charlie will wake up and Dad won't know what to do and he'll start screaming, which will wake up Ethan, and so on and so forth. So, starting with Anna's question, what was your favorite show to watch as a kid? And as a kid, I never got to pick. I had an older sister, so she got to pick. And her favorite shows were Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and Sesame Street. So, growing up, that was basically all I remember. But when you asked the question, the first show that came to mind that I liked watching a lot was David the Gnome. I don't even think it was on for more than one season. And it was about this little gnome who lived in the forest and helped out animals and did different things. And I don't know, I just really liked that show. I remember getting out of school in the third grade and running to my grandmother's house from the bus stop and going straight to the TV and turning it on because otherwise I'd miss the show because it was that close to when I got to her house, to when it came on. I watched Rainbow Bright and Care Bears and the Smurfs and all that, but for some reason the one that sticks out as my favorite is David the Gnome. Then Cody asked if you didn't know how old you were, how old would you think you were? And I don't feel 32. Still have to remind myself when people ask how old I am, exactly how old I am, because I don't feel 32. I feel somewhere in my mid-20s, probably 25-ish. And maturity-wise, I've always been mature for my age, but then I also still do, as you can see from the horns on my head, some very immature things that, well, that's just part of who I am. I probably will never truly grow up completely, and I don't really want to. And I have a problem with people like my parents, mostly my dad, who judges other people for dressing the way that they feel comfortable dressing and doing things that they like to do, and instead of being what he would consider a mature adult. And I really don't think that's any of his business. And I think that, you know what, if a 32-year-old woman wants to wear horns and a Hogwarts shirt, it's my business. I can do it. Kathy asked if you had to lose a sense, which one would you choose to lose? Now, growing up, I used to ask myself the question of if you had to choose between losing your sight, your vision, or your hearing, which would you prefer to lose? And that was limiting it to those two. And between those two, if I had to choose between those two, I'd prefer to lose my sight, because as hard as it would be to never see a gorgeous sunset again, I don't think I could live without music. I use music as a form of escape, and it's so interwoven into my life every day that I don't think I could go without hearing it again. I could learn to read Braille. I could listen to books on tape. But to not be able to hear, I think would be the worst. But if I could choose to keep those senses and lose one of my other ones, it would probably be taste, which is bad as it would be to never taste chocolate or coffee again. I'd sure end up being skinny. So, trade off. And then Megan's question, what would your favorite class be at Hogwarts? And I'm going to have to agree with you on charms. Transfiguration would be cool, but not nearly as useful as charms. And it would just be, so much handy to learn all those little charms that would be handy in everyday life that you could use. second to flying class, but that's only for first years. But still, that would have totally been awesome. Get on a broom and fly. Okay, so that was pretty quick. Now on to my question, which is, I actually thought of it ahead of time. Yay me! I want to know, what was the first album that you bought for yourself? One that you had the money, either someone gave you the money or a gift card for your birthday, or you saved up the money and it was so important that it was the one that you went to the store and bought for yourself. Mine was actually the Dirty Dancing soundtrack. I bought it on tape. I remember it. It was a white tape, and on the cover of the cassette box had that scene where she's standing in front of him with her chin turned up, and they're about to do that little spin-off thing. And I loved that album, which, considering most of it was oldies music, that's the reason why. I grew up listening to my parents' music from the 50s and 60s, so that kind of music was in that movie, and I just loved it. And of course, Hungry Eyes and She's Like the Wind were also really good songs as well. But the reason I liked that music, shouldn't have even known about it at that age, because that movie was definitely not age appropriate for how old I was. But when my sister and I were invited to a sleepover, my parents were like, "Whoa, the kids are finally gone. Let's go rent a movie. We've been wanting to watch this movie, Dirty Dancing, and it's not appropriate for the kids, so now we can watch it because they're not here." Well, Christina and I were at a sleepover, and the mom said, "Hey kids, guess what? I rented this movie, Dirty Dancing, for you guys to watch." So my parents and I watched that movie on the same night at the same time, but they would never have allowed us to watch it had they known. So here's a tip: if you ever do become a parent and you send your kid to a slumber party, ask the parent what movies they're going to watch before you let your kid go to the party. Alright, that's it for me this week. I'm off to go edit this real quick and upload it. Hopefully, again, before our baby starts screaming. Love you guys, and I'll see you later.